Hello aspirants, welcome back to Anthropology Concept Series. So friends, in this episode, let us try to know about one of the important unit in Anthropology, paper 1, that is nature of culture. So friends, in last episode, we tried to understand about the concept of nature of society. And there, we try to understand basically about what is society and what are various social groups and social institutions. And as a continuity to the last lecture, in today's discussion, let us discuss about in detail about the concept of culture. So friends, as we were discussing in last class also, in last episode also, so culture and society, both the concepts are very much central in the socio-cultural anthropology. So it is our part to understand about the very basics about the concept of culture. So to understand about the culture and various other aspects, so first we should know the very basic understanding of the term culture. So here, when we talk from the etymological perspective, so the word culture etymologically has been derived from a Latin word. So the Latin word is known as color. And again, the term color in Latin, it basically refers to, or it basically means to cultivate or to till. So this was the basic meaning of the term color. So from this word, the term culture has been originated. And now, how did it originated? Say originally, the term culture was in fact used in the context of the term agriculture. So in this context, it used to be used, where agriculture basically refers to the practice of, say, it's the practice of cultivation of crops and soil. Cultivation of soil and crops. So that was the basic thing. But in the medieval times, so what has happened? So we started using the term. So from medieval times onwards, we started using the term culture in the context of, say, something related to humans, that to cultivate something that is known as mind. And in mind, what do we cultivate or what do we inculcate? That process of cultivating the manners, cultivating the humanity. So this is in a very simple fashion to say the term culture. I hope you got it from the etymological perspective. Now, how in a simple word we can describe the term culture? So to describe the culture, again we should go back to the very basic understanding of the concept society. So we have said society means basically a group of people. A group of people or group of individual. But if we talk about the group of people, a social group, in there also we can say a group of people, but a group of people with some basic important characteristics that we discuss, like say a defined territory and with a defined or distinct culture. So this we can call it as a society. Now from here in this context, so how culture could be explained or how culture could be defined means when there is a group of people, so for that group of people there would be a systematic way of life of the group of people. So this group of people living in a society. So this aspect we will call as the culture. That means the way of life of a group of people who are living in a society, in a simple word that could be mentioned or that could be explained as something that is known as culture. Is that it clear? That means what all the things that comes under the purview of this term culture means usually to say, so we will have say the food habits or the dressing style, the way the people wear the clothes or the language that they use. Then the religion or the belief systems that they follow. And in the same way, if you see, so things like say the traditions and the customs, and in the same way various morals, norms, all those things will form the part and parcel of the term culture. Is that it clear? That means in a very simple fashion how we can say culture includes all these aspects which are related to the people. And if you see from this particular aspect of culture, so culture is mostly, this would be non-materialistic in nature, and there could be some materialistic aspects of the culture also. So say the tools that we have, or the buildings that we construct, or the shelter homes that where we stay, all such kind of material aspects also could be there. So from that point of view, if we talk from the word culture in a simple fashion to say, culture includes various materialistic and non-materialistic aspects of the society. So this is something that we should remember, materialistic and non-materialistic aspects. So this is where something that we should remember about the term culture. So with this understanding, let us try to know about some of the technical definitions given by some of the important scholars. So amongst that, if we happen to see and if we happen to look at the very anthropological and most comprehensive definition of culture, so we have to recollect the contributions of E.B. Tylor. So who is E.B. Tylor? So if you see generally from the anthropology perspective, so Edward Bernard Tylor. So Edward Bernard Tylor, so he is basically regarded generally as the father of cultural anthropology. So why means he has immensely contributed in the development of cultural anthropology in a systematic manner. And E.B. Tylor was also a British anthropologist. So this is where something that you have to again remember. And now E.B. Tylor, he has written a text in the name of Primitive Culture. Primitive Culture. So this book he has written in the year 1871. And in this particular book, so E.B. Tylor has systematically defined the term culture. Defined the term culture. Now, how did he define culture? That's a very, very important aspect that we should remember. Now, as we have already discussed that man, that is human being, is a member of society. So man, when we talk from this, so man is a member of society. So now, as a member of society, man basically acquires, or man learns lot of habits, lot of capabilities. Man acquires knowledge, beliefs, arts, morals, laws, customs and traditions. So lot of things from this society. So all the knowledge that a man obtained, or the arts, or morals, laws, customs, and various capabilities, habits that he acquired as a member of society. So that we can call in a simple fashion as something that is known as culture. So in a very simple fashion to say, so culture is that complex whole which includes the knowledge, beliefs, arts, morals, law, customs, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by man as a member of society. So this was something that E.B. Tylor called it as culture. So this is how he defined culture. So this complex whole he termed. Right? So this was one comprehensive and anthropological definition that we can keep from the perspective of the anthropology. Now, further if you see from the other definitions which have been given by other important scholars, so there we can have some other important things, like say we have from the functionalist perspective. So what we can say? So we have one important scholar known as Malinowski. So who was the Malinowski? Malinowski was a functionalist. So from the functionalist perspective, so the term culture can be further defined in a particular way. So according to Malinowski, he says that, so in a very simple fashion, so what culture does means culture is the handiwork of man. And culture, what does it do? Culture is a medium through which he satisfies his needs. So that is something that he says. So culture is the medium through which he satisfies his needs. So this is what Malinowski said, and this is how Malinowski defined culture from the functionalist point of view. Is that clear? That's one another thing. And there are two other scholars who defined it from the ecological point of view. So first scholar is, we have Herskovits. So what Herskovits said about culture? So culture, he said that culture is a man-made part of the environment. So culture, it is the man-made part of the environment. So this is what he said. That means he says that culture is not a natural aspect, rather culture is not being created by divine entity, rather it is created by humans. So it's a kind of artificial medium. So that's what he means to say. And in the same way, so there are other scholars, like say for example we have L.P. Vidyarthi. So Professor L.P. Vidyarthi was one of the famous Indian anthropologists. So further defined culture from the perspective of the ecology point of view. So where he said that culture is basically, it is an interaction. It is basically an interaction between man and environment. So this is where, so L.P. Vidyarthi also defines the culture from the environmental perspective. So from this definition's point of view, we can say that, so culture is something that is related to the not the natural one, and it is created by man. So that is something. So likewise, so we can basically understand what culture is all about. So further, if you look about some of the important characteristics of the culture, so we can have. So what are the important characteristics of the culture? So if you look from the perspective of culture, there are so many characteristics that defines the culture. So in a simple fashion, the characteristics also can be simply said as, in a way, so we can also call them as, in a way, to say the features are, in a way we can say, attributes of the culture. So that is where something that we can say. So first and foremost attribute or first and foremost feature of the culture that we can have is that culture is basically, it is learned and inculcated. Culture is basically learned and inculcated. So this is something that we have to remember. That means, friends, try to just fit into this scenario. Now, imagine as if you were a child. And when you were a child, how did you learn the aspect of language? How did you learn your mother tongue? Because it has been taught by your mother, or it has been taught by your family, and it has been taught by your family members, and by listening to the family members and by looking at the family members, you simply learned it, isn't it? So that means, can we say that culture, that means language, which was a part of culture, is being learned by you and it has been inculcated to you? And in the same way, say the dressing habits, the food habits, say you might be a vegetarian and non-vegetarian, say you might be wearing a particular type of dress. So how did you get these things? By birth you don't have that knowledge, you acquired this knowledge as a member of that particular society, and you acquired this knowledge from your society, from your family. So from that point of view, what we can say is that, so in a very simple fashion, culture is learned and culture is inculcated. So that is something that you have to keep in mind. And furthermore, if you see, so generally culture would be shared and transmitted. This is something that you should remember. Now from this, what we can say, culture usually is shared between one member of the society to other member of the society. And culture will be transmitted across the ages from one generation to the another generation. So be it could be the food habits, be it could be the dressing style, be it could be the language, be it could be the belief system. So all of them will be transmitted from one generation to another generation. So that is something that is very, very important characteristic of the culture. And furthermore, if you see, culture is gratifying in nature and satisfies the needs of the humans. So in other ways we can say, other important characteristic is that culture is gratifying in nature. And what does it do? It satisfies the needs. The needs of humans. This is something that we should remember. And apart from this, if you see, culture is a social and it's a group phenomena and it's not an individual phenomena. So this is a very, very, very another important feature that we should talk from the perspective of the culture. It's a social or it's a group phenomena. Remember, because say if one individual follows something, then we cannot call it as a culture. Rather, it must be followed by a group of people. It must be followed by the society on whole. So then only we can call it as society. So culture, that is one thing. And other important thing that we should remember from the culture is that, say, it is basically to say culture in a way, it is dynamic and adaptive in nature. Dynamic and adaptive in nature. That means culture keeps on evolving, and culture is not a static entity. Try to remember this. Is that it clear? That means culture keeps on changing. Culture keeps on moving. So that is one important aspect. So you basically think from the dressing style, or the food habits, or the belief systems, or the language. So all of these aspects will keep on changing. So that's how you can remember that. Now, culture is man-made and it is ideational aspect. This is other important thing that you should remember. Okay, because it is not a natural one and it is not created by divine entity. Rather, it is ideational. That means whenever humans got an idea, so that's how culture shapes and culture took into the reality. So when he wanted some entertainment, so he created some arts, like say, be it could be paintings, be it could be the music, be it could be the dance, be it could be the theater. So it was ideational. When he wanted to make the oral language into the literal language, he invented the script, and that's how it became a part of culture. So that is where one thing that we can say, that culture is man-made and culture is ideational in nature. Is that it clear? And then further, culture basically, what does it do? So culture, in a way, we can say it is unique to human beings. So although culture-like traits can be seen in the other species of animals, but culture is specifically unique to human beings, that because we are the species who show complex cultural traits, like say the written script or the complex cultural aspects, like say belief systems, complex aspects such as say like a tool technology. Everything has been uniquely invented and discovered by humans. So that is where we can say that culture is unique to human beings. That is one thing. And not only this, culture is basically, it is structured and it is well complex. So culture is well structured and complex entity. Remember that. So this is how, in a very simple fashion, we can say that culture has all these kind of characteristics. Right? So apart from this, so there are so many functions that the culture also performs. So in a way to say, culture is something that makes the man social and moral being. Because culture also made up of various morals, various laws, various customs, all those things. And culture is a historically created design of the human living. So that means, in a very simple fashion to say, it forms the basis of the human life. And in other ways, we can say that it also keeps the social relations intact. And apart from this, so it also says, or it also serves as a potential guide for human beings. And in other ways, it also satisfies the human needs. So from that point of view, so in a way to say, culture serves a lot of functions. So that is where something that we should remember from this point of view. So friends, this is something in a very simple manner to understand what is culture, what are the definitions of the culture, and what are the characteristics of the culture. Now, try to comment in the comment section that, is culture unique to human beings? Is culture unique to human beings? So try to answer to this particular question and mention your answer in the comment sections, so that if you are able to address to this particular question properly, that's fine. Otherwise, so in next episode, I'll take up this concept that is culture unique to human beings or not, and we will discuss with evidences, we will discuss with some sort of important examples where we can conclude whether it is unique to human beings or not, right? And in the next session further, let us delve into something, the differences between something that is known as culture and culture versus the things like, say, civilization. So we should know what is the culture and what is the civilization. And in a simple way, in a form of code, to just summarize you this one, so let me introduce this and we'll discuss it in the next episode. So in a simple fashion to say, culture is what we are. Culture is what we are, whereas civilization is what we have. So let's try to learn about this aspect of what is civilization and how can we differentiate the civilization from that of culture, and further let's try to look into the aspect that is culture unique to human beings or not in the next episode. So till then, try to answer this question in the comment box and stay tuned to Sriram's IAS Anthropology channel as well as, so stay tuned to keep watching the anthropology lectures. So thank you all for joining with me, and we'll meet again in the next episode. Thank you.